guys, it's Sam, and today we're going to talk about ladies loving ladies. Also, I'm messing around with the lighting a little bit today. Let me know what you think. I like warmed it up slightly because I felt like it went better with the outdoor lighting that we're having. Also, we had the sounds of nature today because I added a water fountain to my greenhouse, which you may or may not be able to hear. Let me know your thoughts. And my cat is snoring. And my other two animals are right next to me. Sounds of nature at its finest. But as it is Pride Month, I was thinking more than I do even regularly about all things gay, and realized that I hadn't done a video on my favorite women who love other women ships in like 4 years, 3 or 4 years. And the last one was a top 5 Wednesday, which proves how long ago it was. And I ended up mostly in that video talking about like couples in all of media, so it wasn't even just books. And I have read so many other ones since then, so I have 8 of my favorites. These are obviously not all the Sapphic ships that I have read, and there are a few booktube favorites that I have left off because they weren't personally my favorites. But these are mostly, I think almost all adult books, yeah? Yes, with one exception. And also mostly science fiction or fantasy. So let's get into it. The first one is the only contemporary on this list, and that is Darcy and Elle from Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur. This is an adult contemporary romance, and it has sort of themes of like Pride and Prejudice or Bridget Jones's Diary without being retellings of any of those, but it has those themes if you're familiar. Darcy is obviously the Darcy character, and Elle is the Lizzie, but they are their own unique characters for the setting, you know, for the modern setting in Seattle, and this dynamic that they have, and I just really enjoy it because Elle is this like more eclectic bundle of joy who's an astrologer and just kind of all over the place, and Darcy is this very like proper, very stoic, clean house kind of person, and they get in a situation where they sort of have to fake date as well. So it checks a lot of my boxes. I really enjoy them, and I love this companion series as a whole. Next, we have Sabrin and Ede from the Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a standalone adult epic fantasy. I have a review for it, so I'll link that on the screen because I don't want to get into all the details of the plot. But Sabrin and Ede are a queen and the guard kind of romance going on, and they are not the main focus of the story. I know so many people talk about this book and they're like, it's the lesbian fantasy story, and sure, but this one is not very much focused on their relationship. There's multiple POVs, not just theirs. Their relationship is definitely a subplot, but is not like one of the main plots. I have another series to recommend. If you just want 2 fierce ladies in love and that's like one of the main plot lines, I have that coming up. But I still really enjoyed them. I know that some people don't like them and some people don't like Sabrin especially, but I really enjoyed their arc throughout the story and did pull for them. There were times that it was like a little bit not so much disjointed, but it felt like we weren't getting like quite enough time with them because there's so much else going on. And this is a story that I do feel like could have been 2 books and then we would have gotten even more. But I do enjoy them, and if you love like a queen or a princess in the guard trope, which is something that I do love and that you don't see very often, you will probably enjoy this. Next, we have Rosemary and Sussex from The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is one of my OG Sapphic romances that I love so much. This is a adult science fiction series. They're all companions, so you don't have to read them in any kind of order because they follow different characters. And Rosemary is human and Sussex is an alien. From what I remember, because it's been a hot minute, I feel like she's almost like a reptilian, like, bird? Alien? I'm forgetting. Like, definitely humanoid, but like an alien. That's also what I love about this series, is like there's so many like actually alien-seeming aliens. And this series is lovely because it does talk about like different kinds of relationships, especially if you are not confined by humans' idea and society's idea of like what is right or wrong, and the way that family structures are made up, and just like gender and sexuality and all this stuff. And their relationship is one of the ways that this book kind of explores that, and it's just really sweet and like really loving, and I highly enjoy it. And they were crewmates. Next, we have Shizuka and Chef Ali from Their Bright Ascendancy by K. Arsenault Rivera. This is a series that I have finished, and the series itself, like as a fantasy series, was mediocre. It's an adult fantasy series that follows these 2 warrior women in love, and they are both parts of different like sort of cultures within this world, which is very much inspired by both like Chinese and Japanese culture. I'm not gonna get into all that about like the actual series or anything, but although the series itself I don't think lived up to my hopes for it, if you want a series that is essentially an epic romance between 2 ladies, like really strong, powerful women, this is probably going to be enjoyable for you. If you go in specifically for the romance, I went in for the romance as like a perk with some of the other fantasy things going on, but if you go in as almost like this is a fantasy romance centered around them because you just want like over-the-top sapphic goodness, you'll enjoy this. And we have possibly a controversial pick because I know not everyone loves this couple, but it's my video and my opinion. and that is Mia and Ash from Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, the Nevernight series. This is an adult fantasy series centering around an assassin, Mia, who's on a vengeance quest for her family. And Ash is a complicated character because, one, Mia is bisexual, so there's another relationship that a lot of the fans do tend to like. But secondly, Ash is not necessarily a great person. None of them are. They're assassins. They essentially work for a death god. There's a little bit of morality here. But I enjoyed the dynamic between these two and just the like kind of growth they go through together and the fact that they are really drawn to each other and like this friendship to enemies to lovers. Like, I dig those vibes in this very incredibly morally gray world. So I pull for them, I do. Do I love everything about the relationship? No. And do I even necessarily love the ending of this series and what it says for their relationship? No. But did I enjoy the angst throughout this series with them? Yes. If you want angsty, this is for you. Then we have Zoe and Marion from Sawkill Girls. This is a standalone YA horror book, but it's just scary enough that I can handle it. I can't handle anything more scary than this. But this is a book about harnessing fear and turning it into power and all these wonderful things. But two of the three main female characters do end up forming a relationship, and one of them, I believe, if I'm remembering right, is also asexual. So just interesting dynamics with them and how they grow to be really close to each other, as well as like close to some of the other women. So awesome representation there that's done really well. And then just these two and like the closeness they have and the just very organic attraction to each other is just very sweet in the midst of horror chaos. It's a really good book though, especially for Halloween season. Then we have a book that some people may consider this to be a spoiler, but it's 2021 and sexuality is not a spoiler. I actually knew about this relationship before going into the book, and it does not spoil it in any way because the whole thing that you're still trying to figure out, you're trying to figure out regardless if you know the character sexualities. Anyway. This is about the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so if you don't want any spoilers for that, just fast forward. But Celia and Evelyn from the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Another angsty one. I loved this. This is a standalone adult historical fiction. In modern day, Evelyn Hugo is an aging starlet. She's I think like 70 or 80, and she is finally allowing someone to interview her, and then we are basically getting her sort of like memoir interview from the modern day. But most of it takes place in the past and is talking about Evelyn Hugo, who like no one really knows about her life, but had these 7 husbands and all this stuff. But we do find out very quickly that Celia was essentially the love of her life. And so there is this, regardless if you know about that going into it, it's like, how and why did she have 7 husbands then and all this stuff? But I loved their dynamic. It was very just like tense and angsty and loving and wonderful, and the historical setting made it so like all of this makes sense why, you know, they couldn't just run away and be happy together in the limelight like they were, because they're both like in Hollywood and everything. So really enjoyed this one and pulled for them and just wanted them to be happy. And lastly, we have Apple and Kettle from the Book of the Ancestor series by Mark Lawrence. These two are side characters, and those are their like nun names. So this is the adult fantasy series, Grimdark, that follows a main character, Nona, who is going to a magical nunnery for magical assassin nuns who sort of like work for death and things. And these are two of the teachers who are in love. If you're a Dragon Age fan and you enjoy the Warden and Liliana almost in like the future in Inquisition, I know this is very windy and twisty for those of you that don't play those games. If you like that idea, I feel like these two give me similar vibes. But these are two deadly magical assassin nuns who literally have like a soul bond and like can communicate through just like feels. They're very deeply committed to each other, and they would just go to the ends of the earth for each other, and I love them. So those are my 8 favorite Sapphic couples that I've read about. Comment down below, let me know some of yours. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.